Hi, I'm Abby Fothergill. I'm 22 years old. I had quite a confusing childhood from the age of about 10 with my granddad dying, and then again when I was 13 my parents broke up. So I would say that I've learnt every experience I possibly can from quite a young age. There's probably three main significant experiences. Like I said, the first one's probably my granddad, who passed away when I was 10, and which was my mum's dad. He was always very supportive of all of my work, so we always used to make sure that my art mattered, but my English and maths was always where I struggled. He was probably the most influential man in my life. And then when I was 13, my parents broke up, so my dad left my family home. My parents have been together about 25 to 30 years during this time. I have an older brother who's 4 years older, so at the time I was 13 and he was 17. I always didn't suffer as much as my brother did, Joe, because I had to be strong for my family, so I'd always wanted to be supportive to my mum and brother. And then the third one was probably me moving to uni. So having to be completely independent by myself. My life was from being strong with my family to completely dependent on myself and having to do everything. Probably now, in my third year of university, I feel emotional and sad, upset, probably about the things that I've had in my past life, because it's with all the stress and stuff I have from work, it kind of provokes every sad emotion I've had. So with my granddad during university, I've always wanted to ensure he would be happy and proud of me. But with my dad, I just feel like angry, but it provokes me to want to do better because I want to show him that I don't need him to do as well as I could do. I feel the most significant colour for me is probably either the green or the red, just because my mum's star sign is green, and it relates a lot to my mum in the sense of like gentle and calm. I find green quite relaxing, whereas red I see as loss, the love heart wise, and the red wise I see as everything in life that I've lost. With my granddad, he was cremated. I do see the element of fire, and red relates to him, but it also makes me more scared, more nervous, because I find it's dangerous. The purple one I also see as quite calm and relaxing. It doesn't really frighten me, but the shape I find of the flame quite weird, because this looks almost animal-like and ghostly as well. I feel more calming with lighter, calmer colours, and then with warmer colours I feel loss. So probably because of my life and all the stuff I've been through, I associate dark colours with loss and like depressive emotions. I find fire, oddly, quite relaxing, so I could stare at fire for years and years and still feel quite relaxed. But I don't know whether that's partly because I smoke, whether I associate fire with lighting up a cigarette, and that's kind of my calming time to myself. To my mum, just to say thank you for everything she's done for me, and I'm really appreciative of everything she's done for our family.
My name's Simon Bond. I've been down in Plymouth for well over 26 years. Obviously by the accent you can tell I'm not originally from Plymouth. I joined the Navy when I was 16 as a mechanical engineer. Found I loved the electrical side more. I've always been very interested in electrical and mechanical stuff, to the point that all my hobbies are mechanical and electrical. Like I say, I joined the Navy when I was 16, and over the 11 years I was in, I changed each time from electrical to mechanical to electronics. Unfortunately, after 11 years I was playing sport, got injured quite badly in the knees, and they medically discharged me. I remain in Plymouth because I like the area. I love being by the sea, and now I work. I've been through various jobs, but it's all been engineering, but now I work for a company that make manned and unmanned submarines. Probably the two most significant is when I was 11, my mum died, which struck me quite hard. Didn't realise at the time, because I don't think At 11, especially in 1980s, psychology and family ties aren't what they are today, so I don't think I was given much help to understand what was going on. So for 2 years I struggled to know what was going on in the world. That hit me quite hard, still hits me now, because I don't think I've ever fully grieved and understood the grieving process for that. The next sort of significant thing was obviously at 16 joining the Royal Navy. It's probably the most scariest thing I've ever done in my life. You know, you're 16, you get your head shaved off, you get woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You've gone from a very secure family area where everything's done for you to where there's blokes you don't even know or shouting at you loudly at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to do everything. So they're probably the two most significant experiences of my life. I'll start with the easiest one first. The Navy, very proud of what I did. They always say you're stronger than you believe. That was true. Like I say, every day for the first few weeks I was in, I was scared witless. I was the youngest in my class, but all of a sudden, I don't know where it came from, but 6 weeks into the training, you just think, I can beat this. They're not going to beat me, and I'm going to get through this. And this is what I did for 11 years. It taught me a lot. Nothing is impossible. Some things are hard, but they're not impossible. So that's the Navy side. I've come out of it with pride. Some regret because of my knee, and I wish I did stay in for the 22 years, but unfortunately I didn't. The slightly harder one, my mum's death. I'm coming up to 44 now. I still can't talk about my mum's death without getting upset. So that's very hard, very, very hard to get through. I've tried counselling, doesn't work. It doesn't compute. I don't know. I used to have faith when I was brought up. I was brought up in church, Sunday school, Church of England. But then my mum died, and I struggled to believe that any sort of God would do this. So that's probably the hardest experience of my life. This is probably where I'm probably broken somewhere inside, because you've just shown me all these images and nothing came from it. The most obvious one for me was the love heart. It was shaped like a heart and it's red, so obviously I'm quite a soft and emotional person. Again, I'm a sad geek. One of my jobs, I worked as a maintenance engineer in what they call a semiconductor fab, where all of the semiconductor chips, microchips and substrates are made and developed. And we work with boron, phosphorus, other chemicals which give off different colour flames. That's all that comes to mind is my science side. Perhaps a little bit of memory from school where I used to burn different things in a flame in a Bunsen burner, but nothing else. Perhaps nebulas, because I like watching the stars and interested in stargazing. I suppose I was a bit of a pyromaniac when I was a kid. So all the flames invoke one particular story where I decided that I was going to top a Zippo lighter up, again because I'm obsessed with flame. And I was in the kitchen in my dad's house. I was too impatient to wait for it to drop in naturally, so I squeezed it. So it shot petrol all over me, all over my hand, everywhere else. But I thought I'll be okay, it'll evaporate. So I put the fuel tin and lit the Zippo lighter. But unfortunately my hand was still covered in petrol, so it went up in flames as well. I panicked and stood up to try and run out of the kitchen with this hand on fire, and then I stood on the tin just as I threw the lighter. So I had now a jet of fuel from the tin across the whole kitchen as I threw a lit lighter at it. And cut a long story short, but basically I burnt the kitchen down. My dad wasn't happy. I think he wouldn't be happy anyway, but he'd only finished decorating the kitchen about 2 weeks before. He had to redecorate again and all new cupboard doors, and that's what that sort of brings back. Apart from I used to love playing with it, I can relax. I can almost meditate watching fire. I think it's the only thing that actually silences my mind. I suffer quite badly from an overactive mind. I'm an insomniac. I suffer from depression. So I have to take medication to try and sort that out. Again, probably going back to the death of my mother. So fire that's probably why I was obsessed with it in early life, is because I could just stare into it and lose myself. It's the only time my mind seems to silence. Purple one. It's a mixture of violets and purples. Bizarrely, the flowers did nothing for me because flame and science, and it reminds me of space. It looks like a nebula. Again, that's another place I can look at and chill out and relax. I've often thought if I had my time again and probably a bit better educated, I'd love to have gone into astrophysics. I'm obsessed with physics, just as a hobby. So the purple one's definitely space. Demons, Satan. It actually looks like it's got an evil face in that one. The picture itself. Darkness. a ghost. I can actually see a ghost of a woman in that. But yeah, it's almost spectral in its appearance.
My name is Beata and I was born in Czech Republic but came to England when I was around 4 years old. So I started primary school from year 1 and my sister started in reception. I think the most significant one is obviously coming to England and starting a new life completely, leaving friends, and even though I was young, there was still a big difference coming to a new country without speaking the language, without knowing the culture, without knowing the food. Just everything was completely different. The people, not knowing the language was one of the biggest fears, but also one of the other most significant experiences, I think, is coming to uni. You know, I was from a different country and speaking another language. This is quite a big experience for me and I'm quite proud of myself for doing well. I think my emotions have changed a lot from when I was younger, when I was experiencing things differently. So then I think emotion-wise it was exciting, probably, not even scary maybe. It was more exciting, but now I think when I'm older and wiser, I think it's scarier trying to get into new situations and new environments. My English language is high, but still I sometimes do have a few problems there and then. And then obviously I'm in my 3rd year university, so leaving a comfortable place where I've been for 3 years and, you know, being comfortable here, now have to move on and go into the real world. It's very scary and sad as well to leave everyone kind of behind. I am coming from a country that's very Christian and it has quite big religious beliefs. I don't feel like purple is supposed to be associated with faith. If anything, it should be white or gold or yellow, because that's kind of the pure colours. Colour-wise, I think now seeing the purple, it's an associating with belief. It's still a bit like not, because obviously fire and purple and the belief wouldn't get into that category, I don't think. So like the holy, the God wouldn't really be associated with purple and fire. The green obviously does connotate like the earth and plants and greenery, whereas the red is a bit more like romance and violence. I see in that a bit more like anger. Looking at the red flame, you can see that it's fire and it's like a violent fire, and I did a project in 1st year about a fire victim. So I do kind of associate myself. It kind of brings back memories to the stories she used to tell me and how it was hard for her to get over the fact that she could have possibly died within. And, you know, fire is dangerous, and I think red signifies that very well. It's like a warning sign. See red, get away. Probably one of my biggest frights, to be stuck in a fire. Now thinking about the cross and everything, I feel like now maybe after this interview I will kind of associate purple with the belief and with religion, because if that's what it's meant to be, then maybe I was wrong all along to think of white as a religious colour. Maybe purple will be the way forward.